Welcome to this session on evaluating stakeholder satisfaction, and this would be the last session when handling and the talking about the process of managing the communication and engagement of the stakeholders. So, as we say, that stakeholders play a crucial role in project success, and their satisfaction directly impacts the engagement, decision making, and project acceptance. A project may meet all of the technical requirements, but if the stakeholders are dissatisfied, it can be considered as a failure. In this session, we'll explore the stakeholder feedback mechanisms, how to adjust the engagement strategies based on the feedback, and ensuring continuous alignment with the stakeholder expectation. Let's understand first the importance of stakeholder satisfaction. Stakeholder satisfaction is not just about meeting the requirements, it's about meeting the expectations. Stakeholder satisfaction ensures the project acceptance and success. Also, satisfied stakeholders are most likely to support and champion the project. The dissatisfied stakeholders can cause delay, resistance, or even project failure. And let's take an example here. In a construction of a public transportation system, if government agencies, local businesses, and residents feel unheard or uninformed, they may, let's say, oppose or delay the project by not engaging or resistance to support you on implementing this construction project. Even if it's on track technically, ensuring the stakeholder satisfaction fosters the engagement, reduces the resistance, and increases the project success rates. The stakeholder feedback mechanism. So, gathering feedback allows project managers to, let's say, to manage the engagement levels and identify areas of improvement. You may, collect the feedback or obtain the feedback by having surveys and questionnaires to get good the satisfaction levels. Also, you can use this meeting and focus group for a direct input. Also, you may use this performance reviews and issue tracking for the concerns. So these are the key, let's say, mechanisms that you may follow when gathering a feedback from the stakeholder about the satisfaction. For example, here, let's say in a software development project, the stakeholders examples as the clients or the end users, they may provide a feedback through the user acceptance testing or the UAT surveys, helping the team to refine the product before launch. Next, you need to analyze the stakeholder feedback. So, feedback is useless without a proper analysis. And how you can analyze the stakeholder feedback? You can do that by identifying the recurring themes and key concerns that the stakeholders have shared with you. You can also categorize the feedback based on the priority and impact on the project overall objectives. Also ensure to use data driven decision making to make adjustments. Adjusting the stakeholder engagement strategies in case if it's needed. So in case that you have understood that the feedback isn't doing so well on one of these projects that you're handling, and you decided to change the stakeholder engagement strategies to ensure that your stakeholders are satisfied with your engagement strategies. So not all of the stakeholders require the same level of engagement and information as we mentioned before. So you need to modify the engagement frequency, for example, by increasing it or decreasing the communication if let's say, your reports or your engagement are too detailed. So it depends on the feedback from the stakeholders. You may modify the engagement frequency or, let's say, way of engaging with the stakeholders. Also, adjust messaging to align with the stakeholder needs. And Here, when we talked about tailoring the message based on the stakeholder type, whether it's an internal, whether it's the executive levels, whether they're external, say stakeholders. So you need to ensure that your messages is aligned with the stakeholder needs. You also can introduce a new engagement channels like the town halls or newsletter based on, let's say, the preferences of each of the stakeholders. For instance, in a large-scale IT transformation project, senior executives may prefer monthly high-level updates, while end users require a hand-on training and frequent updates. So ensure tailoring the communication to increase the engagement and stakeholder satisfaction. Ensuring the continuous stakeholder alignment. So, stakeholder alignment requires an ongoing engagement, not just at the beginning or end of the project. You need to keep your stakeholder informed throughout the project lifecycle and maintain a proactive and reactive approaches in communication. Establish a feedback response loops for continuous improvement to gather the feedback from the stakeholders in case if they need any, let's say, adjustment or let's say a customized way to, let's say, to deliver the message or to communicate or to engage with them. And that is part of the continuous improvement. You depends on the feedback loop or feedback response loop to obtain the feedback, and then you take an action by adjusting your strategies to ensure that you are, let's say, aligning the continuous changing requirements or communication or engagement requirements with whatever stakeholder needs. Now let's see some of these tools that is being used to track the stakeholder satisfaction. Technology plays a vital role in monitoring stakeholder engagement trends. You may use, this customer relationship management or the CRM tools to track the stakeholder interactions. Also, you have engagement dashboards for real-time feedback monitoring. Also, the surveys and sentiment analysis to measure the stakeholder perception. For instance, in enterprise IT rollouts, organization uses engagement dashboard to track, for example, the user adoption, the sentiment analysis, and help desk ticket, let's say KPIs, ensuring the stakeholders are satisfied with the system changes, for example. When it come on to overcome the stakeholder resistance, so resistance often stems from fear of change or miscommunication. And to overcome the stakeholder resistance, ensure to address the concerns through active listening. Listen to your stakeholders, understand their, let's say, perspective on, for example, using a certain feature or a certain system. Understand their concerns and and listen to them actively. You also need to provide a clear evidence-based justification for decision. And lastly, you need to involve the stakeholder in decision-making process. This is how you overcome the stakeholder resistance. The common challenges in evaluating stakeholder satisfaction that you may face when trying, to evaluate the stakeholder satisfaction. Challenges in stakeholder engagement often arise due the misalignment of expectation, and also that will cause a lack of trust between you and the stakeholders. So to uh, and the reasons behind that, let's say it's lack of honest feedback, and how you can mitigate that by encouraging open and the anonymous inputs. You have the second challenge as conflicting stakeholder expectation, and to mitigate that, you may prioritize based on the project goals. You also have the stakeholder, let's say, disengagement, and that happen by the time if the stakeholder loses the interest. So ensure to use a targeted communication methods and change your engagement strategies to re-engage these stakeholders and to keep them active throughout the project life cycle. An example here, let's say in a large scale ARP system implementation, The executives may expect a rapid cost saving, while employees may struggle with the adoption. So, bridging this gap through phased implementation and clear expectation management ensures a higher satisfaction level between both of the executives and, let's say, the employees or the end users. To summarize our session here, we say that stakeholders' satisfaction is a key driver of project success. And by implementing an effective feedback mechanisms, analyzing the responses, adjusting the engagement strategies, and leveraging technologies, project managers can build a strong stakeholder relationships, reduce the resistance, and improve the project outcomes.